This show contains adult content. Hiram ain't ever had a thing given to him, but it would be hard to argue that the man ever earned a thing either. Makes it hard to tell if a man got a bad hand, or if the poor bastard just didn't know when to fold. Either way, leaves you with a fella that never looks past whether he can get a thing to whether he should.
We open on a starless night. It's New Year's Eve in the town of La Plaine. It's larger than Hayseed, the last place we left Hiram and Meadow together, and even the street texture is foreign to you, Hiram, as you stand upon it. Cobblestone lit dimly with street lamps. We get a close-up shot of Hiram's face as he is scowling with determination, and his eyes are darting back and forth between the various entries and exits to this building in front of him and his companion. A few figures are still wandering in, but more than that, people have started to come out, drunkenly stumbling out onto the streets. A party is in full swing in this large manor. You can hear the sound of people cheering as horse hoofs slam down against a hard-packed racetrack on the other side of the building. It's built in a French style, lots of grays, lots of blues, windows on both stories, and instead of any sort of porch, it's simply raised up from the streets, almost like you'd imagine a New York building in You've Got Mail or Friends, something like that. And you're sort of brought out of your concentration of this building, Hiram, by the figure next to you. Hiram, why does it have to be this building? We had so many. Look, this one right here that we're standing next to, it's completely empty. Can't we just break in through the back? What's so special about this building? The man talking is a little bit younger than Hiram, a little bit shorter, a little bit scrappier. He's got a nervous way about him. His shoulders are slunched in. His posture is not great. And when he's talking to you, it's either full-on eye contact, or it's him sort of trying to keep his face towards you as his eyes dart cautiously around the street.
Oh, well, Mal, sometimes you just get a good feeling about a place. Just look at it. He moves over, puts an arm on his shoulder, steers him towards the building, puts a hand out. Just picture, you can see all these fancy people going in. They ain't gonna be paying attention. All the servants. Be real easy to just sneak around the back, get in. People ain't gonna notice us. All that distraction, that's even better than somewhere that ain't got people in it.
The man next to you, Hiram, Malachi, visibly relaxes as your shoulder goes around him, but you can still feel the nervousness in his shoulders. What does Hiram look like on this most auspicious of nights?
His hair's a little bit longer, but it's slicked back. Maybe he went out and bought some pomade, or he's got some oil. Maybe he couldn't even afford the pomade. He just found some oil and rubbed it in there, so it maybe thinks it looks nicer than it does. Dressed in the nicest clothes that he owns, which definitely not a reputable suit. It's probably the equivalent of a modern day sport jacket. Got some wear, some tears. Maybe it was a hand-me-down from his dad. Maybe it is his dad's and he just took it. Doesn't fit him properly.
So this is a 16-year-old Hiram?
16, 17.
What's the facial hair situation like? Is it patchier than he'd like?
Oh, I think it has to be. I think he's definitely trying to grow in the beard, but it's still, he can't reliably grow in the full beard. And I say this also bagging on myself as a 30-plus-year-old that I couldn't grow a full beard until, my early 20s. So I think he's trying to grow it in, but it's still patchy, so he has to keep it low. So maybe it's just like a 5 o'clock shadow, like stubble.
Malachi, I think, too, is dressed in a suit and tie, but it's got to look bad for a different reason. I think the quality of it is fine, but what about his look sets him apart from the posh society you're entering.
Maybe his outfit is the one that doesn't fit quite as well. Because you said he's smaller, he's hunched, he's scrappier, so he's just in this suit that probably looks way better than Hiram's. Like, maybe he looks like he should be there, but he's still growing into it, which labels him as completely out of place.
What if he has some, like, a little bit of dirt on his nose? Just, like, forgot to clean it off.
Yeah, it's just some smudges here and there. So kind of like standing next to Hiram has made him dirtier. Being with Hiram has already stained his appearance.
That's good.
Hiram takes his arm off, and there's just like the faintest layer of dust where he put his arm down.
Malachi does not brush his shoulders off. Fine. I trust you. Jesus, I'm nervous.
Hiram squeezes his shoulder and then claps his hand on it, lets it linger for just a moment longer, and then slides it off and turns around to stand in front of him. Perfectly normal to be nervous, but you gotta remember, you gotta be at the top of your game. You can go in there nervous, that's fine, but you gotta stay in control. You gotta put that to the back of your mind. Everything's gonna be fine.
I can't do this.
Whoa.
I can't do this. Hiram, there are so many people in there. Look at you. Look at me. You look fine, but I won't fit in at all. Why don't we just find somewhere?
Mal.
Like, the whole time he's talking, his hands turn into claws, just balls of tension, as he talks. And then finally he just stops out of frustration, and his hands sort of shake and fall to his waist as he looks down at your boots.
Mal is looking at the ground. Hiram is still staring at his face, and we get a close-up of Hiram's eyes. We just see this furrowing of his brows, this pinching of his expression as we see him get visibly angry for just a moment, purses his lips and bites it down. Then there's a smile back on his face, and he claps one hand on the other shoulder of Mal and says, "It's all right, Mal. It's all right." And then just gives him kind of a pat like you would a younger brother, and turns his back to stare at the home and said, "Maybe you ain't ready for something like this. That's all right. It's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it." And just maybe lets that hang in the air for just a moment as he stares longingly at the party.
You think that's a persuasion roll?
I think this is definitely persuasion, and while he's standing there, before I make it, maybe he'll also say, "Some folks just ain't cut out for this sort of thing. There ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just who you are."
I feel like that's a taunt.
Because it could. I think he's trying to do it on the down low. So I don't know. What do you think, Caleb? Could be either one.
Well, you've got the same in each, right? So
I actually have the same in each, and I have the equivalent edge in each. So it's gotta be the same roll, I guess.
Okay, yeah. Let's just roll it then.
All right. Ooh, blew up a 6. That is a 15.
Whew.
Wild.
Okay.
God.
Let's make a spirit roll for Malachi. Yeah, that's how this game works.
That's
No. That's 2. A whole raise on Malachi. Easy. We get this shot of Malachi's face, his scared eyes. I think he still has a lot of boyish features, even for someone this young, which I think we're about late teenage years, And as you talk, Hiram, his eyebrows start to furrow, and then he just grabs you by your left arm and starts to pull you towards the house. And the last shot we get is the camera's centered on Hiram as they two walk towards it, and then we see the hint of a smile on Hiram's face as he walks into camera.
That's exactly what I was gonna
Okay,
say.
cool.
Yeah, just the close up on Hiram's face, just with that slight smirk playing at the corner of his mouth as he stumbles after him.
We cut to the interior of this building. I think there's a full-blown band playing, probably some sort of classical music. I don't think there'd be any folksy stuff going on here. Everyone in here is dressed better than you. Maybe there are some people that aren't quite up to your standard, but it is only because of how much they have been drinking so far tonight. It's beautiful marble floors in here, tiled with intricate patterns. And we get this shot of Malachi looking up as you enter into this vaulted ceiling, wood-paneled white walls with greenish blue wallpaper filling the interior. It's not packed, but in the way where you can still move, but you get to move between groups of people. There is a servant or two kind of desperately trying to keep up with the situation. If you wanted to wait, they would probably try to grab your coats if you had them, but instead you sort of just like push by into the room. Or were you going to sneak in the back? Is all this description pointless?
I think that maybe the initial plan would have been to go in through the back, but if Mal pulled him into the front, then Hiram's going where Mal's pulling him.
Okay.
It's at least going in the direction he wants to, and he's pretty confident he can salvage the situation if need be.
The two of them come to a stop, and Malachi sort of has his chest puffed out, and he's a little in front of Hiram. He looks confidently around the room, turns back towards you with like a wry smile, and hits your chest with the back of his right hand. Well, what now, buddy?
Oh, well, you marched on up here. I thought you had yourself a plan, but that's all right. We can improvise.
That's why we make such a great team, Hiram. And he like gives you a big toothy smile.
I think Hiram gives him this one, pats him again, and gives him a smile right back and says, "You're not wrong about that, Mal."
His eyes linger on you a bit as your eyes turn to scan the room. I'm just going to go on a limb here and call for a notice roll.
I figure he probably has at least a D6 notice.
That makes sense. You know, he's Harper's dad.
He's Harper's dad. He's, if nothing else, he's been looking over his shoulder for most of his life because people kick him around, and he has needed to rely on his powers of observation of others.
He's got his papa's eyes.
That is a 5.
So what you've walked out onto with Mal Hiram is a raised entryway, and then a few steps down from that is almost like into a small ballroom. It's got these ceilings, which in this area of the house go up to the roof of the house. So it's, 2 stories of space in 1 story of room. It has these really large paneled windows, like if you imagine panels that are each about an inch, but the windows are 20 feet tall, that sort of dominates the wall opposite of the entryway. There's a little over 200 people in here milling about in their little cliques. The whole room is sort of filled with ruckus laughter in between these large displays of kind of exotic plants, fauna, flora. I think there's even like not a Zen garden, but there's like a garden in the middle of this party area next to the large windows. It's not incredibly large, it's like 10 feet by 10 feet. There's like a little bench in there that 2 people are sort of quietly finding isolation in the middle of this party on. And as you're taking in this scene, past the windows, a group of horses race past, kicking up dirt. And you look outside to this racetrack lit up in the night. Many of the people cheer as they run by, and a few people sort of boo in dismay as their favorite horse is leading up the rear. And then as that passes, you not lock eyes, but lock your eyes on the reason Hiram is here tonight. You catch a glimpse of Meadow Nightingale. What does a fancy-ass Meadow Nightingale look like?
A fancy-ass Meadow Nightingale, first and foremost, is sitting on a bench by herself with a drink because she doesn't want to talk to these people here. But she's wearing a dress with a sleeve that has a definite, puff out to it. Because, ladies got fancy puffy sleeves. Some lace inlays around the collar, which is high. It's got some frills. And it's a full dress, and she does not look entirely comfortable in it or with this situation. I think her hair is definitely, it's all down. It's not in her braid, as it normally would be. It's just loose and hits about her mid-back in length. It's kind of glossy. Maybe she did something to it.
You're sort of brought out of your revelry, Hiram, and the smile disappears from your face as Mal sort of shoves on your shoulder. Hiram, what are you looking at, man?
Stars above.
His eyes follow where yours just were, and whatever facade he had before slips away and turns into vaguely concealed anger as he sees Meadow. He turns back to you. This was the best house to choose, huh, Hiram?
I stand by my decision here, Mal. I'm pretty sure this is the pick of the litter here. And would you look at that? Looks like we got ourselves someone on the inside.
Hiram, she's no more on the inside than you and I are.
Well, we got someone around who ain't gonna rat us out, who maybe we can lean on a little bit. Give us a hand, keep an eye out. It's gonna be fine, Mal. It's gonna be fine, Mal.
I thought you two haven't been on the best of terms since her mama went ballistic or something.
Mal says that, and I think Hiram, his posture straightens, he looks away. Maybe his tongue's digging in his cheek in irritation, and he looks back and says, well, our term's been just fine. It's more a matter of circumstance. It don't matter, Mal. We got she here now. We're here now. We got to make the best of the situation, Mal.
He shakes his head and almost seems to like can't help but smile. He kind of like rubs his nose, missing the dirt entirely, and then glances around. Fine, you go talk to her and I'll take a look around.
That sounds good. This time I think he leans in, gives him a squeeze on the arm, and says, I knew I could count on you, Mal.
He grins and says, you're lucky I love you, Hiram. And then he walks away.
He starts to walk away, and Hiram skips after him really quick and sort of leans in and whispers in his ear as he's walking away, take a look at the racetrack outside. Scoots a step back really quick and straightens his posture, maybe flicks his jacket a little bit, rolls his neck, surveys the scene, and makes his way over.
Now, I got something just slightly unrelated. We have a racetrack around where we live, and once a year they have a weird fucking race where they race like zebras and ostriches. Do you think there's like one weird fucking animal like that?
Yeah.
It's an ostrich.
Yeah.
They're all ostriches.
God. That's fucking great.
We've never been able to see it because we miss it every fucking year, but I want to go so bad.
They race stuff like, maybe not ostriches, but
He's not going to answer.
Who you calling?
I was calling Alex. Damn it, Alex. How fast are ostriches? Could they?
What is the land speed of an ostrich?
Right, yeah, I was just going to ask Alex.
Would he just know?
Yeah, he would.
43 miles per hour, maximum adult running.
That's so fucking fast.
Super fast.
Okay, that's great. We'll work it in.
There we go.
We cut to Meadow as you are minding your own business in the middle of this party, which is not at all to your taste. And you are assaulted, not the first time tonight, by a young man's voice. You got any money on the race?
Do I have any money on the race? Probably more than you can afford.
Hold on.
Let's see if he gets it right.
Oh, shit.
How are you?
What's up, dude?
Hey, how fast are ostriches?
Oh boy, they're pretty fast. I think they can probably run between 30 and 40.
Okay,
That's pretty damn good,
how
yeah.
fast are they like compared to horses though? Like, could an ostrich race a horse on a track?
Yeah, I think so.
How
I
do
think
you?
they might be a little faster even, maybe. I can look it up.
Okay. Oh no,
what's up?
that's good enough. That's good. You'll see.
Dude,
You'll
nailed
see
it.
next week, buddy. You'll see next week. There's gonna
Wait,
be
what?
an ostrich race, dude.
On crows?
yeah. We're recording right
Are
now.
we talking about with a person on it or just
Oh,
by itself?
I
They
didn't even
can't
think
ride
about
with
that.
people on it.
Could-
They
Oh.
can ride with
Well, the ostrich is a lot smaller than a horse. It's going to be slowed down a lot more than a horse would be.
ostrich
With the person on there.
heist.
So they would have to race it like a jockeyless ostrich versus jockeyed horses.
I don't know, man.
All right,
It's
sweet.
going to take some research for this one.
Sweet. All right. Well, I just called you for the bit, so thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, see ya. Right.
That was amazing.
That was really good.
He did just know.
You put any money on the race? Meadow, your eyes glance up, see this figure about your age, somehow already has a 5 o'clock shadow. He looks like an adult actor playing a teenager in a CW show, like a really firm jawline, like a Peaky Blinders haircut, shaved sides, combed top. He's wearing a very nice 3-piece suit, red, almost salmon tie with piercing blue eyes.
I think she kind of rolls her eyes over to him, very disinterested, and says, "Oh, well, not myself, no, but I really hope for your sake that you win this little round of betting, so maybe you can have someone fix up those seams on your jacket. It's real sloppy."
He seems like genuinely shocked and delighted as the laugh rolls across his face. It's a bit harsh, don't you think? We just met. What are you going to do next, insult my house?
Oh, is this your house? You like plants, I guess. That's cool.
Yeah, it was my father's idea. That's what happens when you give a poor man money. They don't know how to spend it.
Well, it looks like you're what happens when a poor man has a child.
With a grin on his face and interest in his eyes, he takes a seat next to you, Meadow. And whose kid are you?
I'm the daughter of just the finest tailor in all of Hayseed, as you can see by my immaculate wardrobe.
I think you're trying to make a joke I don't get, but I think it looks pretty good.
Thank you. It shows how little you know about my work. That's always nice in a fella.
And I'd love to know more.
Oh, I'm sure you would.
It's a numbers game, right?
See, the thing about tailoring.
This guy mansplains tailoring.
It's all about the skip stitch, you see.
God. I think maybe Hiram tried to play it cool at first. He was walking up to approach Meadow when this other guy got there first. Maybe we get a shot of him stop walking mid-walk and turn a few times trying to figure out where to go, and he's just in the middle of everything with no one else around him and goes to lean on something.
You know how 16-year-olds don't know what to do with their hands ever?
Just holding his arms in front of him like a robot. Yeah, so I think he tries to play it cool for, the first 30 seconds, but when this guy sits down, that's when he decides it's time to move him along. So I think he does end up making his way over.
I don't think Meadow's posture, her body language, isn't that she's in peril. She's just real done. Like, she's a little slouched, her lips kind of curled, like she's just squinting ever so slightly at this fucking dude.
Does Hiram have a drink? I feel like he would have scooped. Are there servants walking around with trays of drinks? Are they just around?
Definitely. All of those things. There's a bar. There's people with drinks walking around. There are many drinks just left around. Yeah, you can have a drink.
Can we get a shot of Hiram making his way over here, passing by a servant holding a drink tray, grabs one off, starts to walk away, pauses, walks back, and grabs another one, and just downs them both, puts them back on the tray, and grabs a third one and makes his way over?
That's great. He doesn't grab another one for Meadow?
Does Meadow already have it?
She does. But
you know what?
She's working on it.
You know what? I don't think he does. I don't think he has that much foresight. I think this is a moment where it's about Hiram, not Meadow.
As this guy is hitting you with his creepiest smile, Meadow, you look up in quite a bit of surprise to see Hiram Crow walking up to your bench. At this point, you're a town, maybe two over from Hayseed. This is much larger than this is a city, unlike the town you're from. And it's even more strange that he would somehow be at this party that your mother brought you to.
Meadow is both delighted and horrified to see Hiram. Because she has an out for this conversation, but she can't let her mom see them.
There's a quick glance over your shoulder instinctually, and your mother is making conversation not 10 feet away from you, although her back is turned.
I think Hiram approaches, drink in hand, swirling it unnecessarily, and he pauses several feet away. Why? Good evening, my fine folks.
Oh, good evening. How are you?
This guy looks up and down your clothes, raises an eyebrow with a smug smile, swirls his drink back at you, and then leans back and runs his arm not around Meadow, but on the back of the bench behind where she's sitting, and then says, "Good evening. Welcome to my home."
Would Hiram know who this is? Does he even know the name of the people that own this property or the party that he's crashing?
Let's see how much research you did. You want to make some sort of underground roll, some sort of skill like that?
I do have Streetwise. I do have Streetwise.
And that's
usually
now,
for
right?
It's an edge. It's usually for illegal things or criminal activity, and it gives you a bonus to social networking, which is either persuade or intimidate to get information. So it would be if that applied, then...
I think Hiram probably got the information about this house and the other houses that you and Malachi could rob through your network connections, so I think it makes sense. And I think you probably got that through persuasion, I would assume. Yeah. I don't think you would go around intimidating these adults.
No. I think he he has maybe a D4 in intimidation.
Then, yeah, let's see a persuasion roll with the streetwise, and we'll see how much information you have on this guy.
I keep forgetting I can re-roll my persuasions. I didn't do that last time.
If you get a success, you'll know about the house and the family that lives here. And if you get a raise, you'll be able to know about this person specifically.
So I rolled a 7 on the persuasion. If we're counting the bonus for streetwise, it's +2. So if you think that counts, it would be a success with a raise.
Totally. That's beautiful. Yeah, what you know about this house, it's owned by a Peter Danforth. He's a self-made man who came to the city probably through a little bit of illegal means, made a business from gambling. One of the things that stuck out to you, if Meadow already wasn't going to be here, is he is an avid book collector. Based on this kid's comment in front of you, you assume it's his only child and heir to his fortune, Desmond Danforth. Why don't you ask me one other piece of information you want to know about this house, Doug?
About the house, not the person?
Ooh, either or.
Hiram would know, if he did digging into this, he knows there's a party. He knows the reason Meadow is coming here is for courtship purposes, or her sister. So I think he would find out about the potential suitors just as much as he would about the loot. Like, he's obsessed with Meadow. The loot is a pretense to be here, and it would be a nice cherry on top to get away with it, but he's here for Meadow. So I think it would be about this guy.
You love a dossier.
And I think what he would want is either some way that he could for sure get under this guy's skin or get into this guy's good graces. I think his pride says that it would need to be something he could use to either impress Meadow by cozying up to this guy like right in front of her to then like win her instead of him, or to just completely humiliate this guy in front of her. But that's the more dangerous option, so.
Why don't we give you both? I think what you could get under his skin with is that he was kicked out of a prestigious private school. And maybe he's just really into something.
So books are his father's collection. Is he also into books?
Probably not, right?
Does he like gambling? His dad got rich gambling. Maybe he sees that as like his legacy that he wants to take on.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's what he got kicked out for of the school.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
got me kicked out for the rat race.
Like
I told you to stop racing those rats.
trying to get like an underground gambling thing going at the school to like build up his father's empire or something. Or
okay, I love that a lot. That sounds great. It's into gambling. That's what you know with the raise. The horses careen around the track once more, and sort of the crowd goes wild. He leans over his shoulder with an absent smile, and then leans back to the two of you as the noise dies back down to a manageable level. We sent out a lot of invites for tonight. I'm afraid I don't remember your name.
Shit. Okay, so Doug planned on him giving a fake name here, but I don't know if that's something Hiram would have planned for if he did all this research or not.
Do you want to roll the persuasion versus spirit and then play it out?
Yeah, let's just do that.
Okay. I'm going to say this guy is a D6 in spirit.
All right, here we go. Ooh, blew it up.
Blew it up as well. Oof. 11, buddy.
Oh, shit. I'm at 9. He needs to succeed at this, I think. He wants to make this work. What's the Benny situation?
3 whites.
Oh, I have 3 whites? Damn. Well, then I will spend the first of my 3 bennies to try to make this work. That's a 5 and a 2 and a 1. Oh, God.
That's rough, buddy.
I'm going to spend 1 more. I got to get off on the right foot. Blew up a 6. Oh, it's not good enough. I can't.
I mean, you forgot
my highest.
You've got another Benny.
No, the highest roll I've gotten so far is a 9. I gotta save at least 1 for something else. Shit.
Soaking your devastating wounds
Oh
from this
boy,
guy
you guys.
beating you
Hiram
up.
not doing so well.
Well, he beats you, but not by a raise, so it's going to go poorly for you, but it won't be catastrophic.
All right. So yeah, he comes up and I think he says, well, my name is Adam Perry. I'm of the Perry fortune. We're also new money. You know, we're sort of moving out into this area. We're coming from further back east, sort of scoping the land out.
He smiles at you dismissively, and he says, well, maybe once you have it all figured out, this could be a good blueprint for what you could do once you find yourself with the necessary funds.
Oh, certainly. I don't expect that'll be a problem.
What's your family into, Mr. Perry?
I'd love to hear as well.
Oh, you know, saddle making, leather work, and that sort of thing. We deal with a lot of riding pieces, things you might need out on the trail. Y'all got a real nice setup here, thinking maybe you'll be needing that in the future.
You're one of the leather working Perrys. I heard of y'all.
I think he raises his glass to her and gives her just a sparkling smile.
Your stitching is immaculate.
That's right kind of you to say so, ma'am, but you needn't speak untruths. And I think he brushes dismissively at what he's wearing.
Well, I meant the saddles.
Oh, yes, those as well. Those are just fine, but I truly apologize for my appearance today. It's the trail was not as kind as it could have been, even despite our fine handiworks.
I think Desmond was seeming pretty smug until Meadow started talking, and now he doesn't know what to do because, like, he can't tell, you know, like, is she, I don't know, is she buying it? He doesn't know, so he kind of tries to hold confidence on his face as he looks between the two of you.
Do I know what the name of the school he was kicked out of is?
Thorpe Academy, perhaps? He turns to Meadow with a sultry smile on his face. Well, he's introduced himself. How about you?
Oh, I'm just not as good at words as you fine, educated folks, it would seem. Maybe I'd trip over him. I think she looks at Hiram.
If he can do it, I'm sure you can.
I mean, isn't it kind of fun having a mystery lady on the same bench as you? I mean, how often does that happen?
Yeah, you know, I'm sure that if I could, she could as well. You know, I've been recently accepted into the Thorpe Academy. It's quite a prestigious university. Mr. Danforth, you go to Thorpe Academy, don't you?
He bites his lip and stops a scowl from forming on his face as he ignores you, Hiram, and speaks to Meadow before he stands up. As much as I love a mystery, I would love to find out more about you. And if you want to learn a little bit more about my father's mansion, I'd be happy to show you around. And he winks and then stands up.
Maybe I'll take you up on that very, very kind invitation just a little bit later.
He smiles and says, it was a pleasure to not meet you, madam. And he turns to you. And a pleasure to you too, sir, as well. He reaches out for a handshake, and I think both of you get into like a vice grip. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that seems appropriate. Just the smile just gets bigger every time there's that straining of hands as they shake there. You just cut between their faces as they have the most pinched, over large smiles looking at each other.
I think Meadow she's leaning back on the bench and has an arm up over the back just watching these two dipshits.
Say hi to Headmaster Archibald for me.
Well, you can say hello for yourself.
He smiles curtly and walks off quickly.
I don't know how you put up with this sort of thing.
Well, this is my life right now. This is kind of what I'm doing. Just having these sleazeballs just come on up and try to put their arms around me. And I can't do anything because I am trying to breach into high society.
Well, speaking of boredom, breaching, and high society, you look like you could use a good time tonight, Nightingale.
Maybe. I'm here for that guy. I shouldn't have been so dismissive.
I mean, what, you want to be here?
No.
Sure, then why not just have a little fun with it?
Because my mom is right over there. I've got to just...
He's doing his rounds here. Look, and I think he looks over his shoulder to see where he is and turns his back mostly on the mother so that if she looks over here, maybe she won't immediately notice that it's Hiram Crow. But so he can still keep an eye out in case she does start to come over. He can just beat a hasty retreat or something like that. Well, high society sure is nice. A lot of fine things here, but about excitement, adventure, sneak around, take a look at the rest of the mansion.
How long would it take?
It'd take as long as you wanted to, Miss Nightingale. I wasn't being entirely untruthful with our fine Desmond Danforth, such an illustrious chap. I wasn't being entirely untruthful. I have been studying in my own way. And reaches a hand into his pocket and produces a pack of relatively new-looking playing cards and fans them out with a deft hand. I've been expanding my horizon a bit myself, and I think he'll try to impress her with a trick. What do you think that would be?
It's good that you're trying to impress her now, because her face is largely very unimpressed when you pull out a deck of fucking cards from your pocket.
God, I'm gonna crit fail the shit out of this.
I think she's got her glass in her hand, and she's just kind of tracing around the rim of it with her other finger, just watching whatever's gonna happen.
Harebrained scheme.
The question is Hiram using gambling or is Hiram using a trick?
For this to be truly spectacular, it would be something outside of what he can normally achieve to fully impress her.
It's a trick that Mal has taught you that you get right 50% of the time or something.
That sounds right, yeah. If he thought there was a chance that he could succeed in front of her, he would probably try it. I don't think he wants to fail on purpose, so if he didn't think he could, he wouldn't do it.
Then let's make a hexen roll.
Oh, blew up the 6. That's an 8.
Okay. First of all, before we resolve that, do you think Meadow is impressed by this 8?
I think it depends what he does.
Okay. All right. Well, Hiram, I guess, Doug, it's up to your description. What does Hiram pull off?
I think it's something that is on the edge of being implausible, but could happen. So I think he fans out the cards and he does a little back and forth where he rolls the entire stack so they all flip over together and he shuffles them around and does a little sleight of hand there. But maybe he does a very long, accordion shuffle where he puts his hands in the middle and then spreads his hand out in kind of a rainbow arc, and the cards just fan from one hand to the other in a classic over-the-top magician flourish.
She was not impressed until you did that.
The last one snaps into place and he brings the deck back in front of him and stands there looking at her very, very self-satisfied.
I think she leans forward on her knees and she's like, how did you do that?
How indeed?
Well, you can't not tell me. You didn't do a trick like that, no?
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, Ms. Nightingale, I could never reveal my secrets. But there just so happens to be one very particular book that I've been led to believe the Danforths possess in their substantial library of things I'm sure they don't even have time to read themselves. You know, rich folk just buying things they don't need.
She looks at all the plants dubiously.
So if you're looking for a bit of excitement, intrigue, as these folks are so often fond of, take a poke around. Maybe I show you another trick or two. Maybe I learn something new.
We better beat it real quick because my mama's looking away. Let's go. She puts her drink on the on the bench.
Sorry.
She's gone.
Sorry. I'm so
Okay.
sorry. She puts her drink down and starts to move away. We get another shot of Hiram. Maybe he finishes the rest of his, sets it down, and man, things are going pretty well for him right now.
Well, as you two walk off into this crowd, I think it's punctuated by the horses racing by on their last lap. We get this shot of you two walking through this crowd that no one is paying attention to you. And then as you try to make your way around one of these huddles, you come face to face with Mal, who's looking considerably more nervous yet again. Hiram, they got this place locked. Oh. Hey, Meadow.
Oh, hey, Mal. I didn't know you we're all hanging out tonight. That's cool.
I didn't know either. It looks like everything deeper into the house. This is the only room we can really get into, besides the kitchen, but I don't think they'll let us in there. I tried one of the doors, and they're locked, and some of the whatever these people are, waiters, servants, I don't know what, they're watching the doors, or at least they're standing in front of them, and he points over, and to a party goer, they would appear just to be sort of standing around with platters on their hands, or, holding other luxuries and amenities, anything to make everyone's night be a little bit better. But to perhaps your not quite trained eye, you can see they're also making sure no one goes outside the bounds that the host has set up.
Do you two know which way the library is?
I figured Hiram would be spending his time kind of getting that out of the crowd. Maybe we could ask whoever lives here.
No.
Well, hold on. I think I've got a great idea.
Hold on. Alex is calling us back. Yeah, what's up?
I was right. So it's a little over 40 miles per hour, but I couldn't find any for the speed with a person on there. But I would say it's probably, for short distances, probably comparable to a horse. That'd be a good race.
I love
Okay,
the dedication.
Thank you so much for listening to Sounds Like Crows, and thank you to Doug and Allie from the RPG for You and Me podcast for coming on and playing Hiram and Meadow Crow. You can find Allie on Twitter at YouSeeTheHat, where she posts art from their show. To find Doug, you'll have to go on their Discord server or our Discord server, and to find their show, head to rpgforyouandme.com, where they are currently playing their cyberpunk campaign set in their custom world of Caldonics, also using the Savage Worlds rules system, which is owned by the Pinnacle Entertainment Group at peginc.com. All music on the show is provided by Rudy Zuniga, Levi Rojas, William Cartwright, or licensed from Voidcore Productions. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to all of our patrons, but specifically Aaron Blackston, Suzanne Hagen, Jared, Ariel Weiss, and Greg Gray. Thank you all so much. And to everybody, we'll see you next Monday.